Welcome back to the Herbert Dennard Show. We have with us State Representative David Lucas, Rita Samuels, and Emily Davis. How could I miss your name and famous as your father is? And your mother. And you. David, tell us about the Quitman 10. I just interviewed him. What's going on in your opinion, and what must we do?
Well, it's straight politics. This is the Republican Party trying to deter folks from voting, and we understand that the majority of the Democratic Party and the faithfuls in the Democratic Party are black folks. And what the Quitman 10 did was basically to use the system as we have today, absentee ballot. And the reason they use that because every time they turn around when trying to get folks elected, they'll lose by 8 or 9 or something happened with the machine. Well, they got a paper trail this time. And they went to bed, they were losing. When they woke up in the morning, they won. And then those folks who lost went and ran again as independents, and the judge, they took them to court, and the judge says it's all right for them to do it. So they beat them again. Now, once they beat them twice, all of a sudden, law enforcement jumps down in Brooks County, and at 7 o'clock in the morning, you take 5 carloads of police to go arrest a school teacher, one over here and one over there. They hadn't fought anything. The only thing they did was participate in the American dream and use that constitutional privilege they had, and that is the vote. And they got folks out, and they used the ballot, the absentee ballot, which is a paper trail.
Commissioner, the county commissioner down in Baldwin County, Emily Davis, tell us something. Give us some input.
Well, I remember years ago when my dad went to federal court for district voting, he made the Atlanta Constitution at least twice. He and Beverly Clairhoun and Reverend C.H. Body about the same thing, getting black folks in position so we can rise up and help each other, just like a flock of geese. When the leader gets tired, the others come along and they help him. And we, as a race, need to realize that in 2011, it's the same as it was in 1819. And we've got to pull together and do what we need to do, not only to help the Quitman 10, but to help, because today it's the Quitman 10. Tomorrow it can be Emily Davis or David Lucas or Tyrone Brooks. So we as a race need to pull together and do what we do to help make this move forward.
Okay, thank you. Now we have Rita Samuels, the president of the Coalition of Black Women. Georgia Coalition.
Georgia Coalition of Black Women. Well, we have made quite a bit of progress in winning the right to vote in the early 60s. But what we have not done, we have not educated ourselves as much as we need to be educated about the whole election process. There are no blacks on the state elections board. That's the policy board who sees, who monitors what goes on in our whole election process. And while I am pleased to join Gabio and Representative David Lucas and Commissioner Davis and others in supporting the Quitman 10, the Georgia Coalition of Black Women, who is celebrating 30 years of advocating for women and girls. We were founded here in Macon, Georgia, June the 7th, 1981. So we are pleased to be here to say we want to do some workshops on the election process. We don't have enough people, not only on the state elections board, we don't have minorities and women that we should have on these local boards of elections. So that's where it starts.
One of the things that impressed me, I was telling them, and I was joking with them, they're down in a little country town way down almost to Florida, and they are getting people to vote absentee ballot, which is legal. And they worked. And us folks up in Macon and Milledgeville and Atlanta and Forsyth, we're not doing that. What does that tell you, David?
Well, it tells me that they were tired of trying the system, using the system the regular way, going to vote, and every time you turn around, they said, well, they had a malfunction with the machine or they didn't get these votes. Well, the paper ballot, they got to sit down and count them. That's a paper trail. And what they did, you got to understand, Brooks County is only about 30% black. And the Board of Election knew that they were taking absentee applications for those folks to fill out so they could get an absentee ballot. So it wasn't anything illegal that they did. What they did do is you had that one of 45 days of early voting. And the state of Georgia has passed a bill that cuts it down to 21 days. Now, I would assume that Quitman, Georgia, was in the back of the minds of those folks who led the effort on changing from 45 days to 21 days. And that is leading up the 2012 election. You remember we had many folks to sign a bill called the Bertha Bill by Hatfield. Representative Epps signed it, and Representative Allen Peake signed it. And, you know, part of the problem was that Representative Peake signed it, and he says that he didn't know anything about it. What happened to him was that a representative from Augusta said that we're going to picket all that cheddar you got down in Augusta if you don't get your name off that bill. And he ran and got his name off that bill because he was talking about money. Representative Epps is in up here in Middle Georgia, in the rural area, many minorities and black folks up here, and you're going to sign a bill so that President Obama can't get on the Georgia ballot for re-election. And he took his name off that bill. So, I didn't understand it. It is amazing how all these folks can sign these things but don't understand it.
You know, the point I was making seemed like we here in Bibb County would make better use of not so much advanced voting, absentee ballots. We in Baldwin County should take better advantage of it. We down in Atlanta should take more advantages of it. But it seemed like a little small town took full advantage of it, and they won.
And they're being persecuted for it. They're being persecuted.
Well, I think we have to also know what the official position of the Justice Department is about this issue as well, because Georgia is a voting rights state, and when these issues take place, they also, even when they come out the legislature, they have to be approved by the Justice Department. And so I don't know what the Justice Department's position is on this, but I think we do need to know, and maybe out of this meeting we can request some kind of response.
Well, I think you're right, and we're going to try to do that, but I think it needs to come from folks outside of Brooks County. We don't need those folks to take a whipping. And when I say a whipping, to be ostracized and held out. They've had 2 grand juries to meet. They have not indicted not one of them. And 2 grand juries. Now, I mean, they locked them up in December. Here it is, we in May. You know, something is wrong. You're supposed to have a fast and speedy trial in this country, but something is wrong. And we intend to find out what's wrong.
Any last words, Commissioner Emily Davis from Baldwin County?
Well, I would just like to say I think they were sick and tired of being sick and tired.
But we in Baldwin County, we in Bibb County ought to be sick and tired too.
We should, and maybe this will help us get there. You know, and I would like to also say that on June 18th, which is the weekend of Juneteenth, we will be back in Quitman, Georgia for the celebration down there, and we would like for everyone to join us. Anyone that's choosing to go, just contact Representative Lucas and let us know, and maybe we can get some buses to go down to Quitman, Georgia on June 18th.
Last words, Rita Samuels?
I just want to say Georgia was the first state to reject ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. We have to look at the history of our state and our state's involvement in voting rights issues and our own involvement with voting rights issues. It's one thing to get the right to vote. It's another thing to make sure that locally, the people who are most responsible for carrying out the policies and rules that affects voting, that we participate in that too. I don't think we can overeducate ourselves about the process. I don't think we can monitor too much. I agree with Mr. Dennard. Why aren't we taking advantage of the gains that we have made? Why aren't we using absentee ballots more? Why aren't we taking advantage of early voting? Early voting means more resources. So we have to go to the meetings and say we want an early vote. We want more places to early vote. So I am one who believes that the only way the system is ever going to work, we have to work. Freedom is not free.
My thinking is that we should encourage more people to absentee ballot because there's a paper trail. And when they put them in the machine, sometimes it's not. So if we encourage people to absentee ballot, especially the people that a lot of times don't vote, we might be better off. But anyway, last comment, David.
I think that we all got to take a lesson from the Quitman team, and I think we've got somehow we got to get off the porch. We've been sitting on the porch too long. Come on. And it seems as though everybody's comfortable, and one or two are taking the heat. And the problem is that the one or two are leaving us. So we got to get off the porch. We got to get us some more fighters.
All right, appreciate it. And we'll be right back.